Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. You know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all of the interviews that we put out every single week. It's new and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists. And I got to say, I am so excited, honored actually today to be talking with the one and only John Sebastian. Hello, sir.
How do you do, Kyle?
I'm doing great. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being on here. We get to talk about a new release. And I got to say, this is the first new release in quite a while too. Explore the Songbook of the Lovin Spoonful. It's you and Arlen Roth.
That's right.
And first off, just a compliment. The two of you all together doing these songs, it's so much fun to listen to.
I'm delighted to hear folks say that, and I'm getting that reaction fairly frequently.
Well, it's got to be what you want to hear. So Arlen, tell me a little bit about him and your relationship and how this project came to be.
Well, Arlen and I go back quite a ways because we have ended up on stages playing together, mostly at benefits, not at prearranged type concerts. And then also he and I shared for many years a mutual interest in groveling around the old music stores in Lower Manhattan. I think we were one of the 6 people that still knew about these places. And so, and we were on the lookout for odd things, like Fender 6-string basses and stuff like that. So that was a kind of a point of friendship for us. But over the years, we have ended up on these various stages where we kind of had to react to the moment and be a unit. And let's see, I guess it goes back a couple of years now that Catherine and I were listening to one of Arlen's records that he had done, one of these instrumental projects. I think it might have been instrumental music of the Rolling Stones or the Simon and Garfunkel. He did one of those. And these were all Catherine and I were like having dinner and playing them and going, gee, this is really nice. It's kind of a unique take. Well, so then the next time I saw Arlen, I told him exactly what we had said. And he said, you mean you haven't done a Lovin Spoonful one of these? And I go, no. And he leans in and he goes, we'd have half of the arrangements licked. That was kind of the real the go move. So Arlen and I, as I say, we did sit around and play guitars a lot. So it wasn't that different to go into the studio and play guitars a lot. We fairly soon enlisted Ira Coleman and Eric Parker as our rest of our rhythm section. And so we had already finished 14 tunes when all of a sudden we couldn't be in the same room together anymore. So we both split to our individual, each of us have an engineer of preference right down the road that is very helpful very often. So that was pretty much how it went. We had to go back to our respective corners, but then we found that is the way we'd been working for like 8-10 years already, where people would send us stuff and go, here, put a auto harp on this, put a harmonica or a hot Telecaster. So we had the background to be able to go, okay, well, let's just look at our record the same way. All right, so we don't want to get all 1970 Los Angeles about this. We really got to keep it contained because that's our strong suit. And so between that and being able to recruit both Muldors individually, Maria Muldor sang a tune with me, and Jeff Muldor tenored me on a couple of other things that I'd always wanted to do. And then the amazing Austrian twins, the Mona Lisa twins, who had been working, I'd been working for them for a couple of albums of theirs, and saying, look, don't pay me because I'm going to recruit you for something. I just don't know what. And as soon as the album with Arlen and I started, I went, that perfect. So originally, we really had thought that this would be a singularly instrumental album. But as time went on, we began to say, gee, this one tune could really stand a vocal. Gee, wouldn't it be fun if we had the twins sing this tune? So, and that began to happen here and there, so that, I don't know, we may be at 50-50 by now.
Yeah, it is fun kind of hearing both ways as you cruise through here. It seems like a lot of the biggest hits were able to stay with the instrumental versions, and it's some of the others that I didn't expect it right away. Had really fun treatments with your guests, but also you mentioned it not being a 1970s LA production, which very funny. It made me sort of think about that too, because the way we talk about 70s productions, the way we talk about 80s productions, especially, it really doesn't ever hit the 60s like that. And when these songs originally came out, most of them, and then, hearing sort of these minimal versions of them as you're doing this, I wonder, like, do some of these feel like maybe the demos would have felt to you?
Well, demos for the Lovin' Spoonful were pretty much the record. We'd be lucky if we got a second chance. That's all coming. Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, that's another era. So yeah, we would sometimes just, hey, this is good. Let's add an auto harp and put it out. So that was our tactic.
Yeah, well, it goes a long way to say, as I was mentioning, like, we had so many more tricks. I mean, so many more tricks became available as the decades went on, but those recordings still sound perfect and pure in a way. And I don't know why. I wasn't there. You were there. You could speak to it more than me, but the production just still stands on its own.
Look, there specifically, when we're talking about the Spoonful, we are talking about the skills of Eric Jacobson, because Eric and I had already sort of begun a friendship even before the Spoonful. It was even before I had begun to really hang out with Zalman. And our conversations were very powerful in the way that they affected what would be the Lovin' Spoonful.
Yeah. Well, and then to kind of go back and hear the way, again, what you're doing on this set right here, and doing a little comparing. And of course, I'm not saying anything new with this, but the way you all just blended so many styles, that you were doing at the time. Was that something that was that natural, or did you kind of notice that was happening, that you guys were doing some blending that not a lot of other bands were doing at the time?
Well, remember that we were learning guitar a few years after a lot of very famous guitarists. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of people to draw on as we were trying to figure, some of this stuff we were hearing mostly on record.
Yeah. Well, one of those, like, of course, we talk about jug band music. I'm in Louisville. So I'm in one of the homes
Oh,
of
please.
Jug Band, you know?
That's right, man. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I wanted that T-shirt, the one that says Louisville, then Louisville, then
Right.
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah. I was talking to someone, of course, in the UK earlier today, and it said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Louisville," and he kind of looked at me and said, "Louisville." I was like, "Ah, there it is." Yeah,
There it is.
I have to remember to do that. But it was, with us in Memphis, as two of the main starting points, the main popular starting points of jug band music, and what came from there. We're well versed in around here. But
Yeah.
what drew you to it? What was it that spoke to you at the time as a young man to kind of point you in that direction?
Well, of course, I wasn't hearing it firsthand. I was hearing it on record, and I was hearing there were a few very important vinyl 33 and a third records at that time. One of them was the Harry Smith catalog, and another one was instrumental music of the Southern Appalachians, which luckily didn't follow that title very closely. There was lots of stuff that wasn't even anywhere close to the Appalachians. But what it gave us was exposure to this kind of composite. It was blues. You could hear that it was blues men and women, but you could also hear that there was this sort of another aspect. And to me, I guess it was leftovers from vaudeville and stuff like that, where there's either a touch of humor in a sad song or a touch of sadness in a song that's sort of superficially jolly. And you start, now, what were those lyrics again? And you go, hey, wait a minute, he's mad. And you don't get that right away. So I think that was kind of central to the fascination.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that like Four Eyes, on this set. Like I hear that because that's one of those moments like, is this a dark song or a funny song? And I'm not quite sure. I'm enjoying it either way. Yeah. Those type of. I should also point out, by the way, Louisville, the home to NRBQ at the beginning, and your
That's
relationship
right.
there.
No,
Yeah.
I know that, and that's why I have this attitude to Louisville.
Just pointing that out while we're here. So you do. So we get into this set again, and it doesn't sound like that there was hard rules put in play, but when you do look at some of the songs that ended up still as instrumental only, Daydream, is instrumental. Younger Girl, Do You Believe in Magic? You guys went with the instrument there. Were there any songs though that were sort of untouchable to you all? Did you find that was ever
actually, we gave a good college try to Summer in the City. And it's so funny. I mean, I consider all of us to have improved musically. I mean, I didn't have original members, but I had some really good players, and so we cut it and we go, what is it? And we decided it's just the untouchable thing that hit records have, which is that you can't say, oh, well, I hear he just turned up the auto harp, so let's do that. And no, it doesn't make it the same. So yeah, Summer in the City really was that way. And there may have been one or two others, but Summer in the City was the real noticeable one.
Yeah.
Boy, can't we get that? And I mean, every ending, Arlen would do a more spectacular, the guy can just, he says, give me that mountain echo, that mountaintop echo. That's the one where he's, whoa, 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 whoa. And he'd start the solo. It'd be so great. We'd go, God, that's the best. And then somehow it still didn't hold up to the originals. Now, I can't say that we were trying to top any of the originals. We were trying to play them.
Mhm.
and do it with a little bit of a sense of fun and also this aspect which we were really enjoying of how nothing it was. It's like, here, you sit here, I sit here, we look at each other so we can tell where we are and make a record. Done. And that was that part of the real fun of it was the way it was emerging.
Yeah. By the way, Summer in the City, you're right. As you look at it, you kind of expect to see a lot of the singles on there, and that one is noticeable. It's been like 25 years, but I sang that in high school choir. And if you can imagine a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds in cummerbunds and bow ties singing Summer in the City, and probably not the most flattering version, but just seared in my mind because of that in a positive way. I love it.
Oh, that sounds funny.
Yeah, it's hearing just the way your songs can end up out of your hands into other people's hands.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's another one on here. Didn't want to have to do it. I think that's one of my favorite moments on the record. You've got Lexi Roth doing the vocals on here
too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just going to go broad here. Tell me about that song. Its conception and also where it is with this version as well.
All right. So really, one of my first significant relationships was with an older friend, woman who had a daughter. And our friendship and relationship began very casually. And everybody was sort of saying, yeah, this is we're just having fun. But when it became obvious that it was over or that something else was starting, I really don't remember the specifics, but I think it was probably for me, that was the first real heartache that I was experiencing as a young guy, other than the sort of the amour fou at 14 that, we all somehow have in our past.
Right. Yeah. So you don't go for your own vocals on this one. As I mentioned, you got Lexi doing it. How did that one come about?
All right. That had happened. Remember, our original premise, we're making an instrumental Lovin' Spoonful album. So we start doing that. And then sooner or later, I think Lovin' You might have been the first one where, like, Arlen said, come on, just put a vocal on this. Okay, we put the vocal on. Hey, not bad. All right. So we continue with our instrumental approach, and Didn't Want to Have to Do It was one of the tunes we did. And I thought, because it has that repetitive didn't want to have to, that I would do that with harmonicas and overdub a series of echoes and answers. So, and I used a couple of different harmonicas, and it was quite elaborate. At which point, Arlen calls me and says, Lexi's out in California. I sent her some of our stuff, and she came back and said, I want to sing Didn't Want to Have to Do It. Don't let this get by me. So I thought, geez, a woman's a professional singer. With a dad like this, she can't be amusical. So I took a shot. And of course, she gave this terrific performance. I love her version of Didn't Want to Have to Do It. And yes, I mean, if I had to pick a first single, I think I'd probably go with Lexi.
That's the one. It is great. And there are moments all over it. There's, I think, maybe just one, but there's at least one song that does break the rules of the record when you talk about exploring the songbook of the Lovin' Spoonful, and that's When You Get the Stories We Could Tell.
That
comes actually from your solo catalog. Why break the rules for that one? Which, by the way, all-time classic, obviously.
I was just having fun. I think part of it was that once Maria was in town, that really that really kind of centered the idea that we would do it that way. But I think it might have just been that both of us enjoyed playing that tune.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is that one of those songs? Have you ever noticed? And I don't know if any of your songs do this, but of course, as you get older, decades, years pass or something, songs might change for certain artists. It seems like that might be one of those songs that, could, I don't know, just have one of those different emotions that kind of carries along as time passes.
Yes, I think it does. I think it does. Write the song, add 40 years. Describe.
There's the math right there. Easy enough. Easy enough.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a song that's not on here that I wasn't even aware that you had any part in until I was doing the research for this. But I've got to ask. We're actually going to pull into the 80s. I was a child of the 80s, and that song is the Care Bear Countdown.
All right. All right.
Is that you? That's you, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hey, Kyle. Just because I am sitting with a small pile of wildly unpopular CDs, one of the things is a thing called Short Songs for Shorter People. And what it is that 80s era cartoon stuff from the Canadian nuts at Nelvana of Canada. And that whole era was so much fun. And I realized years later that, boy, there's all of these songs and none of them are long enough to be an actual, 3.5 minute single or something. We used to go with 2.5, but,
right.
Yeah. Since MacArthur Park, we're pretty much safer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously, for a lot of us that did grow up during that time, that ended up being just one of those songs, and that's so interesting. And that had to be an interesting part of your career too. But I'm going to ask you this in the same way that I would ask you, do you believe in magic? One of those classics. Do you remember writing that one? And did you have to approach it in the same way that you would have written a regular, rock song?
The Care Bears material.
Yeah. Specifically.
Yeah. I can't say that I was approaching it differently. I was very conscious of not writing down. Even though this was kid stuff, this is cartoons. Mm-hmm. But I was very conscious of, how would you tell a 6-year-old about something like, well, you shouldn't really eat anything that smells good because they put perfume in stuff that isn't for eating. Right. And I wrote a song about that. I have to send you this now because you may even see another song or two from some of these other half-hour cartoons, because that's what they were doing, was making cartoons for American television, mm-hmm. specifically for holidays, because that's what the research had taught them, is when American kids sit down on the couch and watch cartoons.
Right. I'll make you a deal. You send me that CD and I'll send you a Louisville shirt.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. I'm taking down an address. I'm not screwing around.
We'll do that here in just a few moments.
Okay.
I will wrap up on this right here, just by, so a new album does come a little bit less frequent these days, but are you working on anything outside of this now that this is in the past? I mean, or what's your plans for the year at this point?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Arlen and I just started fooling around some more. because this has been well received. It's better than I ever expected. I thought that, there's going to be the old furry critics going, oh, well, listen, the man can't sing the same way. And of course, he's, doesn't have Yanofsky. And, there could be any number of ways that you could attack the project. But for me, part of the joy was the way that Arlen had already taken in Zalman Yanofsky. And apropos of your earlier question, that was the center for him of this coexistence of blues and country. That Zolly's little bends and so on, where he's sort of imitating a pedal steel, and then Zolly's hammer-ons, where essentially he's imitating Floyd Kramer. It's a Floyd Kramer move that he had a special fascination with, and so those were all factors.
Yeah, well, I hope you all do more of this, because I add me to that pile. I'm so enjoying this musical relationship that you all have going on.
That's terrific. Terrific.
So congratulations,
Eric Coleman and Eric Parker and the twins and the Muldors. They all made this happen. So
yeah.
I may go to them again.
Keep it coming. Well, congratulations on this one. It really is such a fun listen.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Glad to
John.
hear it.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it too. This has been a whole lot of fun.
I've enjoyed it too.
All right.